or ways to collaborate, you can basically share your YouTube links. So that makes it, well, so that's why I want to make sure that it's professional when you do anything into that aspect. Okay. So let me just go over, I guess, the next part just with dates and things that we need to know. Today is September 22nd. We'll be covering I'll start covering security with you. What is the importance of security in protection of information security? Why is it needed? And we'll talk about examples, and you know that it's essential. And then on the 24th, I will continue talking about security. You have an assignment due. And then next week on the 29th, I will be giving you a study guide to study for the test. Our test is on October 8th. We discussed it is in person. It is in the School of Business. And put in a note here, on October 1st, we will not have class due to religious holiday, Yom Kippur. We will not have class on October 1st. And that is going on. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And I can see on my screen here, we are streaming live. It works out perfect. Everybody, Lauren, we just even see when we see you, Lauren, I don't know now, is in that first one. You see how you're not centered, but other than that, everyone looks pretty good on that aspect. And then we'll go to our content. And I go to always my content, and I always go to my what's due section. And in my what's due, I'm on this one. Today is the 22nd. So we know that on Wednesday, before class, we have the assignment of the AI powered research assistant assignment, the readings of chapter 4 of information security, the adaptive assignments, and the quizzes. We know the drill there. It should all work out well. And we know that our audit assignment instructions are right here, where the assignment will guide through a dynamic Gen AI assistant and create, in this case, it's a unique learning experience. It's a way really where I see a lot of people using it for studying, for even summarizing. So you can make a tutorial here. And what I'm letting you know is we're going to be using it. It's great for studying. A number of people use it to study already. Isa was telling me that she uses it all the time. And even Marco mentioned that he started the assignment, was using it. So it's nice for studying, but it's even after you finish the studying in regular classes, it's great because of so many videos that you need to summarize, so many recordings, so many articles. It's a great way to have it. It's also interesting how they use podcasts as well. So it'd be interesting when you do this assignment, and let me go to the assignment. Some of you that have already even done it, but would look at it. This assignment, I want you to record it as a tutorial on how to use it, but also step a little above and talk about how you think it can be used for education and maybe even for business. And you'll upload the PDFs of the textbook chapters, explore the LLM, this notebook LM, interactive by asking 2 or 3 questions, generate some multiple choice questions. Isn't that nice? record your session with Zoom to capture both the screen and the audio. And in this case, what I said before is everybody will choose a chapter. That's one thing. Again, Gianna, you have to have you set that up, Gianna, with your group that you know what chapter you need to focus in on?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it
But
on
did you make a definite kind of talked about it versus what chapter are you supposed to do? Did you agree to do?
we're kind of waiting on Lennon still because we've sent a message in our group chat the
Okay, so why don't you do this? Lennon is online now. Why didn't you guys DM each other?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying that we've been doing.
Right, just do it now and say you'll take, maybe even do it. You'll take chapter 4, for instance, Gianna 5, TG1 and TG2. So make sure today everyone needs to make sure that you have decided on which chapter. Um, and then you need to get an existing Google account. And Marco, what's important about the Google account? Can it be the school account? Marco,
It has to be a personal one that we use for the other
why?
assignment. I think it was just restricted by the school or something like that. I don't
Okay,
really remember.
I'll tell you why, Marco, because what Google has said is they want it to be your personal account. You are the administrator, right? You created your own personal account, right? Your school, are you the administrator of your school account? We're recording, Marco.
No, we're not.
Right. So when you're doing this Google account here, put that in your notes or that you can think about it. For these type of activities, Google wants you to be the administrator, to have control,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? And it's the same thing. What about the YouTube account? You remember? You
Yeah,
who
it's the
else?
same thing.
It's the same thing. They want to have it. One is it helps for fraud detection for them. Because what did they do with that 48 hours? You remember, Marco?
Yeah, they had to
They
verify your
basically
account.
they don't want to have scammers and fraudsters start creating live accounts. And also with this allows you to be the owner. And later on, Marco, when we'll be doing web development, where we'll be using Wix, I'll ask you to create like a Zoom meeting for your customers. You'll need to have, are you the administrator of our Zoom?
Of this one, no. You
So
Miami
you'll
is.
need then what? The exact same idea, Marco, right? You'll need to have your own Zoom copy to make those connections.
Right.
So that's key here. So you'll access it and you'll try, and then you'll set up a Zoom meeting and make the recordings. And guess what? PPTX, where we have the PowerPoints, Ava, who owns PPTX? Who is the vendor for PPTX? What does it stand for, PPTX? Do you have any idea, Ava?
PowerPoint,
PowerPoint, right?
something. Mhm.
Who owns that? Who's the
Is it
vendor?
Microsoft?
Microsoft.
Yeah.
This Google notebook, I just said, who owns this notebook? What vendor? Ava, what
Is it
vendor?
Google?
This is like a test question, an easy test question. Well, who owns Google Notebook LM? What vendor?
Google?
Google, right.
Mhm.
So Google does not accept PPTX. They accept the generic PDF. So you're going to have to take if you're going to use the PowerPoints, you have to take those PowerPoints and save them as PDFs. PDFs are generic that everyone then can read. Okay. So my point here is, Ava, they do this intentionally. You know, if you have you ever used Google Docs, Ava?
Yeah, I have.
Do you think you could use Google Slides
Yes.
directly? Yes.
Hmm.
So you could take it. So I originally had it. So notice that they're encouraging you to use their product. So in this case, then it's going through of uploading it and using all the features. And what I'd like you to think about when you're doing it is what is useful, and maybe also think about, and you'll be doing this in your group reflection for the next assignment, is how could this product be improved? Because you always want to keep on thinking about how do you want to improve it. And we also want to think about not only just the steps that you know how to use these products, but how you would consult with a company or even consult with administration and say, you know, this Google Notebook is so great. There's a service in which you can have an enterprise version of Google Notebook LM, and you could share then a number of different podcasts. So what would be great, Marco, is they could have 10 people taking, you know, Finance 101. You could listen to other people with other resources having it if it were an enterprise version. But it's not right now. They could have, and it could be a way in which later on you were a consultant. You could tell a higher education university, you know, I think not only individual students can use this, but why don't you brand it with your own logo and make it like Zoom, you know, an enterprise version of Zoom. But right now they're not doing that. And then you'll process it and go through it and upload it. Okay, so that's the questions on that. And our next assignment, and we will not have class on October 1st, so our assignments usually are done on Wednesday. We're going to make the next assignment then on the reflection October 6th. So if you're not able to make the class on October 1st for religious reasons, you can do it. And also there'll be a group project. You could even use October 1st as an opportunity then, Gianna, to meet on October 1st during that class and say, hey, let's meet for the reflection time. You got it? So everybody, that's an opportunity. Okay, so you have that. Any questions? Devin, any question you have about it?
I have no questions.
Okay, all right. So let's go to the Wiley Reading and Adaptive. And last time we talked about data and knowledge management. You remember? And last time we talked about data warehouses and data marts. And we described in general, you remember, a data warehouse as a repository of what kind of data? Lauren, remember we talked about a data warehouse last time?
Yeah.
Was a way in which we can store an enterprise. Let's say the university. A university is called an enterprise that has a repository, basically a way that it can store data that's organized by a subject. So it can be organized, in this case, we could organize it by students. We could organize it by students. We could do it our incoming students, our students that we want to recruit, our students that are graduating, our students that are alumni. We can decide, people in the organization can decide to have a data warehouse. And my question is, Lauren, what's unique about that data? Is it historical? Is it present? Or is it future data? Lauren.
About the data warehouse, it says it's repository of historical data.
Historical data. So it means it's historical data. That historical data is what we call many times what? Non-volatile. It means that it stays the same. And why is it? It's not going to be it's not going to be our data that if we were our inventory data, it's going to be data that we put in there to do some kind of hypothesis testing, some kind of marketing study, something that we want to know about our data to make what? Future decisions. Do you got that, Lauren? So if I want to make future decisions in an organization, like how can I get students to be more excited? Like Marco, what should I do in terms of educating my students on AI? Should I create a major? Should I just basically create all my classes and put it basically a section of AI in there? Basically, I have to figure this out. Whatever I want to figure out, I can put it in a data warehouse. And those data warehouses of these large institutions, they're going to be used to do transaction processing. And do you see here? They maintain historical data, right, Lauren? So it's going to be time variant. It's going to be historical data. It's not going to be recent. It's going to be non-volatile. So if I think about non-volatile, Ava, what does non-volatile mean?
It's
What does non-volatile mean?
retaining data even if there's a break in the power supply.
Yeah, it means that it's not going to disappear. So the users can't change it, the data, they can't update the data. Why? Because we want to reflect the history. If I want to see in the School of Business, what's your major, Ava?
And business management and then global business.
Global business. If I want to find out about those global businesses and I want to find out basically GPAs, I don't want people to start switching and putting in GPAs, right? So it basically has many dimensions. And in the understanding here, you're on a roll then, Ava. If we look at this multiple choice, the primary purpose of a data warehouse in an organization is to what? Support online transaction processing. Online transaction processing means day to day. It means like inventory. It means that if I go to Publix and I go to the counter and I swipe that I took a bottle of water and I swipe it, that's online transaction processing. Store data for the short term, last day, last week, last month. Support business analytic applications and decision-making processes, or enable users to change or update the data. So Ava, we just talked about it. That warehouse is not going to be able to change or update the data, right? It shouldn't be short term. This is how I would do the test, right, Ava, right? And
Right.
not supporting online transactions. It's going to be what? Historical. So what's the best answer?
C.
Support business analytic application. And what is it for? What's the whole purpose of it? For the future, to make decisions, right? That's the key that we want. So it makes decisions, so I submit. And then I can reset. So that's going to be important when we talk about the generic. And last time I talked about it, this is confusing, doesn't it? It looks so much, doesn't it? But all you need to know is similar to this is my source. In a data warehouse, I have to put in data. Just like in this case, have you done the assignment for the Google? Yet?
Which one is it, like the one on Wiley
Google,
Plus?
no, the one on Google Notebook LM. Have you started that
Oh
yet?
no, I haven't
Yeah.
started that yet.
But what did Google Notebook LM? Did you pick a chapter for yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the TG1 or
Okay, TG1 is the hardware. So that would be your source in your data warehouse. That's called the source. And these figures right here that look like cylinders, put in your notes then, Ava. In IT terms, these are called databases. So all of these, I can put in the source systems for databases. And what do I have at the end is some way in which to make some decisions. So in a way, it's similar to that notebook LM. You see that, Marco? In a way, it's similar to this board because you have the sources. You can put in many sources. You could put in 50, 100. And if you had the enterprise version, Marco, of Notebook LM, you could do a lot more different sources. You could go over the internet. You could take in a number of different YouTube videos. Put the sources, but then what do you want to do since it's historical with the enterprise? They have something called extraction. That means clean the data. And we talk about metadata right here. Everybody see the word metadata? We got to figure out what is metadata versus that regular data. We got to figure out then, Kylie, what does it mean, metadata? And as I'm asking that question, Kylie, what should everybody be doing is try to figure it out, right? Even though it's in the book, there's so many terms in the book, right? Kylie, you can, your head can explode. Well, what's the interesting thing is what I always want to do is bring it down to who cares and how can I use it? How can I even use it for myself? And basically, how do businesses use it? So what is metadata? Who can tell me?
I can say it.
Sophia, great, Sophia, give it a try.
So it's metadata is the data about the data. So it's information about the data that already exists. And it basically just like governs over the regular data.
Okay, it describes the data. All right, let me just kind of give you an example. Anybody like to watch those crime shows? Anyone? Who likes to watch any of those crime shows where they're looking for a killer? Ryan, you like those? And Ava, you like that too? Anyone else? And what do they always do when they're searching for a killer or, who made the big crime? What do they usually do? And they get the phone, they look at phone data. Anybody ever seen that? In trials, they look at phone data. So what happens with the phone data, Ryan?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
No, but have you ever seen them? What do they do? They're following along somebody, and what do they say?
Like
That
they're
your
tracing phone
phone did
calls and
what?
stuff like that.
What?
Like they trace phone calls, they trace text messages, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but even not even going into the text, not even seeing, even when you delete your text, everybody thinks, oh, I'm brilliant. I'll tell you, we're in this crime. Ryan, that last text I received, go ahead and delete it. And I write, go ahead and delete it. And guess what? It's never really fully deleted. They can do it. But even besides that, have everybody seen this was pinged at the tower? Have you ever heard of that? You were in, I can say, I was never in Miami Beach. And they said, well, your phone, Dr. Rush, was pinging from that tower in South Beach. Have you ever heard that, Ryan?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. And what they can do many times in the metadata is when I went to Miami Beach, let's say we were in some crime together, and this is all hypothetical, right? Ryan, that we're going to do it. It's all pretend. Me and you are in this heist together, right? And I go to a beach, let's say some fraud, right? And I go into the beach, right? And then I can say, after I hire my hitman or something, I then text you, Ryan, and I said, I had a happy day or something. I'm not going to say, hey, the hitman did it. I'm a little bit sophisticated, right? And then when they start looking at metadata, they show at 8:55 on Saturday night, my phone texted you. They don't know, even in the beginning, they don't know. And then you were also about that. And then Ryan, then you called the hitman, right? Sammy the hitman, and you did the call. So I say, I don't even know Sammy, but you actually just did Ryan. Going from my phone pinging to your texting, basically, without even looking at the text, that's called metadata. That's data about the data. They don't know what I said to you. And let's say I even had a phone call with you. I didn't even text. I had a phone call, and let's say they didn't have a wiretap on me, right? They don't know what I said to you, but they know I called you. And they know it was 3 minutes. And then you called Sammy the hitman, right? Maybe he has another name than Sammy the hitman, right? And he also basically, you knew that you called him. That's called metadata. It's data about the data, but I don't know the specifics. A lot of times also data describes what the field would look like. So if it basically is, let's think about it in this case, if it's test scores have to be numeric. And the test scores can't be, let's say, over 100, and it can't be less than 0. That's what, in this case, ever. If I say I describe what the test scores are supposed to be numeric, can't be under 0 and over 100, that's called what? Metadata. The fact ever that you got 99 on the test is just the data itself.
Okay.
You understand? Why is
Yeah.
that important? A lot of times the metadata is important also to describe the data about the data. You see, in that case, Sophia, so what it means of describing the data. Why is that important? Because we want to have the right type of fields to do the right arithmetic operations. So that's the importance when we talk about that metadata. And in this case, here is the metadata repository. It tells what type of data we have in a repository. Let's say we have then our student data that is also of our freshmen, their GPAs within the business school. And here's all my enterprise data warehouse of all my data. This describes it. This talks about it all. And then what I'm going to do is, this may be all my students at the university, but we're going to have, storing the data, we will have data marts that are smaller to answer a question. So marketing may be in ways in which we need to market our students, maybe in a way in which we can recruit. Management of our data may be of ways in which we can better manage our students, retaining them. Finance, maybe we want these best students and we want to know how can we provide them with financial aid. And then what we're going to do is what? At the end, give some kind of decision making that says, we should market to students, maybe not so much internationally, but more nationally. We should market to students more in the Northeast or the Southeast. We should market to students and tell them about our new AI programs. We should market to students and tell them about our internships. That's how we go about doing it. So this is the key in which we talk about all those sources. Here they talk about relational databases. You don't need to worry about those ends, but you can think about those benefits of the data warehouse is to give my information. The next part that I wanted to show you is in Wiley Plus is the idea of information security. And in information security, let me see. We talk about security in general. and then we talk about information security. And if I think about information security, Stephen, security, you know, where do you live now? On campus, off campus, Stephen?
I'm off campus.
You're off campus, okay? And you live in a house, apartment?
Yeah, I live in a house.
And how many people in the house?
There's 5 of us.
You each have a bedroom or got a
Yeah,
sharing?
we each have a bedroom.
Wow, it's nice. So one of the things, security, do you ever worry about security of your
Not
belongings?
really.
I know. And so, and not really because you feel like it's pretty safe, right? So are your parents concerned ever about the security of your stuff?
I don't really think so. Not too much.
Right. But the idea is that you want to do you ever lock the doors?
No.
You never lock the doors. Do you have a car?
Yeah.
Do you ever lock the doors of your car?
Yeah. I like the car, not the house though.
Okay, the house you're renting, so who cares, right? Is that the idea? And your
I
car
mean,
is
I guess so, yeah.
right, and the car is precious to you. So what do? What do you end up doing? You protect it by doing what? You lock the car. Do you have insurance on your car?
Yeah. I think you have to, yeah.
Yeah, you have to. Why? Because you have to, because somebody can knock into you, somebody can basically steal your car. That's basically security, right? Think about it. Think about now, Stephen, is information security is what? We need, instead of just our belongings of what we have personally, information security talks about what? The idea that we need to secure our information at the university. What do they need to secure? So if I think about it, Jack, what do they need to secure at the university? Tell me something they need to secure at the university for information.
Like student information, like
Yes,
grades.
student information, right? Do you want everybody to have your GPA out there?
No.
No. Do you want to have everybody to have, if you have financial aid and you have a credit card, you want everybody to have that? No,
No.
right? And basically can somebody come in and change your GPA, right? You wouldn't want that, especially if they change it to a lower amount, right? You want to have some integrity, right? They say, oh, basically, Jack, you have a 4.0. And they say, well, how do we know that nobody just came in and changed it, right? You want to have some integrity there. So basically, you have information security and you have what they call unintentional threats and deliberate threats. What are unintentional mean? Brandon, what does unintentional mean? You think?
Like maybe your credit card accidentally gets leaked online or
Yeah,
something.
unintentional means no one did it with intention. So for instance, if you have a password, right? You have some passwords and you leave your computer and somebody goes in with your password there, that was unintentional. Deliberate threats are actually people that are into the system trying to do damage. You got that? The difference then, Brandon, between unintentional and deliberate. And what do we have to do as an organization? Just like Stephen, who says he had to protect, in order to drive, he has to have insurance. He needs to lock his car. We have to figure out organizations need to protect their information. There has to be ways to do it. Is there risk? Yes, there are risks. So in this case, then, Bobby, what's your major?
My major is real estate.
Real estate. So it's the same thing, right? In real estate, it also means you're going to protect it based on the value of it, right? You're going to spend a lot more money. Or if you're going to sell some real estate, right? You expect those people, if it's a $10 million property versus $100,000 property, those with 10 million, there's more to lose, will protect it more. So there's going to be ways in which we have security controls to do that. And what you need to know, that we have the general security, which is protection against any activity, any danger that we have, the information security that'll be having to do that they need to have certain processes being done. They don't want unauthorized users to be done. And then you'll need to know, Carissa, the difference between what is a threat, what is an exposure, and what is a vulnerability. What is a threat? What is an exposure? And what is a vulnerability? What is a threat? What is an exposure? And what is a vulnerability? So the first one, Kylie, would be what? You tell me in securities, what is a security threat mean? And everybody what? Zach will look up. What do we mean by a security threat? Right, Kylie?
Yep. A security threat is a potential danger, event or entity that could exploit a vulnerability to breach security.
So think about information. What kind of threat would we have at the university if somebody could then basically want to break in to the basically area where credit cards are being held? And we're exposed to it. What's a vulnerability? We have to see where we're vulnerable. And then later on, what we need to do is see what is the value of it. Somebody can break in here and get to my PowerPoints. What's the value of that, Ava? I don't think much. Those are online. You can get those anywhere, right? But it may be more my exams, maybe more. It may be more when I'm giving out grades, my grade form where somebody's going to be there. It may be more when they're going to be, then also at the university collecting your credit card information. It may be more valuable in terms of the health center data. So you have to think about this case. Let me just minimize this. That when I think about that introduction to information security, it's going to be then security, just like you said here, is going to be then against any activity, danger, damage, or loss, right? I have to secure it for a hurricane. But information security is key here, that it's going to refer to all the processes, all the policies designed to protect an organization's information and information system from what? Unauthorized access, right? Their use, their disclosure, their disruption, their modification. So in this case, I want to secure. I can secure, for instance, I have a lab with computers in there. I want to secure that. And then the threat is what we talked about before. Any danger, the exposure is the harm, loss, or damage can result of a threat compromise at resources, and the vulnerability is the possibility that the threat will harm the resource. So if I look at this chapter, it's going to be so crucial, because we need to make sure that we have all our devices, we have AI there. And when we have databases, it's going to be in one spot. So if I look at this one, Zach, this question, what does information security refer to? I can see that A is the degree of protection against any physical damage to the organization's property. This is dealing to information security. B, the processes and policies designed to protect an organization's information from unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification. So which one looks to be, C is the measures taken to protect an organization, financial resources, policies designed to safeguard an organization's personnel. Which one do you think is for information security, Zach? If we were going to do
I
that.
would say B.
B, right? One is it's kind of a hint if I had to check and I didn't know it's the longest, right? Zach? Besides that, right? It's the idea they're talking about those information sources that they do, and I know that I'm correct on that. And then why are smaller, faster, and more inexpensive computers and storage device considered a vulnerability? And in this case, why in this case they're easier to hack, they can be easily stolen, potentially exposing sensitivity, they cannot support advanced securities, and they're difficult to track and monitor. So what do you think, Marco? So on this one, why are smaller, inexpensive, right? Why are they considered vulnerability? Because what? If I have if I have a lot of iPhones around, right? I have a couple of some, in this case, even external small drives.
I would
What's the
say B for sure.
B?
Because
Because they can be easy and stolen, right?
yeah,
There's
the little
sensitive
drives for sure
information.
can get taken.
All I have to do is somebody leaves their iPhone around, somebody leaves their jump drive there. You can just pass by and just easily put in your pocket, right? So these are the questions they are. So what I need to think about is at the university, Marco, do I have a division that just deals with information security, you think? Do you think we need that?
Yeah, I definitely think there is.
Yeah,
There's a lot
so
of very important
basically,
information for
so go
students.
ahead and try to find it. In this case, it's called, in this case, securityitmiami.edu. You see that? Do they advertise it? I don't think well enough. Do you, Marco? I mean, did you know about this?
I think I've came across it maybe one time.
Yeah,
I don't really
maybe.
remember why. I
Fantastic.
think I was resetting a password because they make you do it every few months.
Right, they make you do it.
But
So did you know there's national cybersecurity awareness, avoid cyber attacks? You know how difficult that would be. And guess what? You're online. Anytime you're on campus, you're using their network. And guess what? Since you're using their network, Marco, all those hackers are just biting at the bit, right, to get into that network. Because what do they have? They got 15,000, 20,000 students that they can put, guess what, Marco, bots on your computer, and you can then basically go out on the internet and commit crimes without you even knowing they're using your computer. So what's great is a cluster, and where do they have more of a cluster? You can be. So they are really scared, the university, of creating this network. So that's why they have it. So you can see here, you remember we talked about information security office is we need some controls. We need to report an incident. We need to give what services. And then they basically need to have this. So notice access UM's network via UM's thing needs to create then some security there. And they basically help here that they're saying security is everybody's responsibility. What I'm saying is they don't do enough. Remember, we talked about training employees. They should train students how to be security aware. Don't get phished, right? People have been phishing here, and you can see here they have about the information security where they talk about it's like, look at this, then Gianna, it's like the book Security Governance. They're in charge of the security of what? Of the university. These people then govern it. They have to have policies. they should make, they're in charge of awareness for the university. They're in charge to make what? Authentication and to get into the network. Look at this. You're going to get excited about this. Not really, but anyways, vulnerability management. What is it? Basically identifies, assesses, tracks the resolution of security weaknesses throughout the institution. Because what do we say? We could be vulnerable. They have to find, do I know where they're vulnerable? No. I know where it may be, but I don't know the entire university. Do you, Gianna? No. It's their responsibility not only to identify it, not only assess what is the vulnerability, not only track it, but what? Basically find a resolution and then assign what? The risk assessment. What does risk assessment mean? They have to do risk assessment and regulatory compliance. What is risk assessment? I'm using that link. And Daniel, can you be so kind and put that maybe on the security that students look at that
Sure.
link?
And the web links?
Yeah, in the web links. And maybe even on the next assignment.
Okay.
Because I think that's going to be really nice, because in some of like the open-ended questions, this, when I'm asking for examples, Daniel, this university security system, you can kind of see of how they're implementing it. You know, they can look at security based on what the university is doing. So I'm talking about, with everybody here, risk assessment. Why is risk assessment so essential in security? And Stephen, if I even ask about your car, what kind of car are you driving?
Toyota RAV4,
Okay. What year?
2015.
2015. Does anybody have, basically what we need to do is, if I had a more recent car that was more expensive, basically maybe I would need to secure that more. I have to think about what would be the risk assessment about your car. Would be, what's the likelihood my car could be broken into? What's the likelihood my car would be stolen? That's a risk assessment. Could it possibly, everybody's car could possibly be stolen. Everybody agree with me? You agree with me, Austin? If we all had cars, they all could be. It's a matter of degree. I drive an old car, so I always say the advantage for me to drive my old car is that my risk of it being stolen is less, right? And maybe if I had a fancier car, one of the reasons I tell myself I don't want a fancier car is that it would have what? More of a chance to be broken into, stolen. So it's the same thing with what? Information security, Austin, is I have to have a risk assessment of not only will I get hacked, but what is the probability that I get hacked, and also how valuable is my data, and what are the consequences of it. Like I said, my PowerPoints, Austin, could be hacked. Somebody could, take my PowerPoints. Not such a big thing. But if they basically, somebody comes in and does ransomware for the hospital and shuts down the university's hospital, that has what? Major consequences. And sometimes we'll talk about risk assessment, is sometimes we'll transfer the risk. What does it mean, transfer the risk? It means transfer the risk to some other party. So, Stephen, when you told me you had insurance, that's transference of risk. Why? Because if you get in a car accident and your car gets stolen, you're transferring that risk to the insurance company. Everybody with me? So that is the key, and that's why, let me share it again with you, that I like so much here is on this risk assessment here is I like this where they basically have an incident response. I need security. Guess what? When somebody is hacked, I want them to not only document it, but respond. How are they going to help? And also there's something called business continuity and disaster recovery management. And that means if the university is down, how am I going to continue doing business and how am I going to recover from the disaster? A lot of times we even do it with a hurricane, right? If we notice how quiet it is this semester, I've never had such a quiet semester, but we have to have, the university has to have some way to say, we're going to continue our business and we're going to recover from a disaster. So this is the key in which this is telling me their services here, and their services basically tell me it's awareness. I'll go over next time the Graham and other ones and the policy, but this is an introduction to information security, and we have it in the enterprise at our institution. They have to have it. And all businesses have to have it. And even it's on a personal level, you have to have it. And it's based on the probabilities and what you can think about is the risk. Questions? So for Wednesday, do the assignments. I'll go over more the security and controls, which are essential, and talk about examples. So my moderators, anything I need to know? So let's, yes, no?
No, no one has anything.
I had a few students that wanted to see me, so I'm going to end today. I'll have Daniel, you want to do attendance?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to do it since there's an issue of sharing your screen?
I can do it. I just wouldn't
Well,
share
why
my
don't I do it since
Okay.
it's right? Is that true? You all see my screen? You know, we got to do something about that, huh, Daniel? I don't know.
I know.
But we'll see, huh? So I want to do check-in, start check-in. I'll have you put it in the chat, okay? So 2090. Daniel, can you be so kind and put that in the chat more than once, I know. And stay with me if you have questions. Otherwise, I'll see you on Wednesday. Devin was there. Okay. Questions? Everybody's through. Let me shut down.